Who was Daniel Lewis Lee, former death row inmate killed in the first U.S. federal execution in 17 years? Daniel Lewis Lee and accomplice were convicted of killing 3 members of a family in 1996. Lee's execution had been blocked after his victims' relatives sought to have it delayed, fearing that attending could expose them to coronavirus. An initial ruling by the appeal court meant the execution by lethal injection would go ahead. The Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals said in its ruling that the family's claim lacks any arguable legal basis and is therefore frivolous. However, the execution date was thrown into serious doubt after a last-minute federal court appeal, when the district judge ordered a new delay in the federal executions. Today, the 47-year-old was put to death by lethal injection. Here we take a look at the crimes of Daniel Lewis Lee and why this execution was so significant. Who was Daniel Lewis Lee? That is the image, that is the picture of Daniel Lewis Lee on the screen, as you can see. He was a self-confessed white supremacist from Yukon, Oklahoma. Court documents state that he also went by the name of Daniel Lewis Graham, D.L. Graham, and Denny Lee. He was found guilty of taking part in the murder of 3 members of the same family 24 years ago. Why was he on death row? Lee was convicted of murdering 3 members of the Mueller family, a family of Jewish descent who lived in Searcy County, Arkansas in 1996. William Frederick Mueller, his wife Nancy Ann Mueller, and his 8-year-old stepdaughter, Sarah Elizabeth Powell, were all killed. The year before, his accomplice Chevy Kehoe had burgled the family home to steal a large collection of guns, ammunition, and money. Lee was found guilty of multiple offenses including 3 counts of murder in aid of racketeering on May 4, 1999 by a jury in the United States District Court for the Eastern District of Arkansas. The court held that after robbing and shooting the victims, Lee threw the bodies of the victims into the Illinois Bayou. He was sentenced to death. His execution was the first U.S. federal state execution since 2003. When was his execution? Lee's execution by lethal injection was set to take place in Indiana at 4 p.m. local time on Monday, July 13, although the date was thrown into doubt after a last-minute federal court ruling. However, the Supreme Court then cleared the way for the resumption of the federal death penalty in an unsigned order released after 2 a.m. on Tuesday, July 14th. The court wiped away a lower court order temporarily blocking the execution in a 4-5 vote. Lee died in a federal prison in Terre Haute, Indiana. "I didn't do it," Lee said just before he was executed. "I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, but I'm not a murderer. You're killing an innocent man." Why is a federal execution so rare? The death penalty was outlawed at state and federal level by a 1972 Supreme Court decision which cancelled all existing death penalty statutes. However, in 1976, the Supreme Court allowed states to reinstate the death penalty. In 1998, the government passed legislation that made it available again at a federal level. But while 78 people have been sentenced to death in federal cases since then, only 3 have since been executed. There are 62 inmates currently on federal death row. The last execution by federal death penalty took place in 2003. The Trump administration said it would resume federal executions after a long hiatus last year. Attorney General William Barr said at the time, under administrations of both parties, the Department of Justice has sought the death penalty against the worst criminals. The Justice Department upholds the rule of law, and we owe it to the victims and their families to carry forward the sentence imposed by our justice system. Irene Peterson, 81, whose daughter Nancy Ann Mueller was killed by Lee, had opposed the execution, calling for life sentence instead. "Yes, Daniel Lee damaged my life, but I can't believe taking his life is going to change any of that," Mrs. Peterson said in a video statement last year. This execution was to be one of four scheduled for July and August. All four men said to be executed were convicted of killing children. Thank you so much.